going. You know, I'm trying to work smarter, not harder here, and trying to get on different platforms at the same time. So anyway, fascias and foundation. I have a couple things I want to chat about really quick first. I just found this guy named Max Remedial, and I can post his Instagram account in a moment, but just learning more and more about fascia and just researching, looking out there, and some of the things that he wrote in a blog about fascia I thought was really, really interesting. I just wanted to share it really quick. Fascia absorbs our movement, and we talk so much about flexibility and lengthening our muscles, but it's also so important that we have the muscles shorten so that the fascia that is embedded throughout can also recoil or be springy. When fascia becomes stiff, dense, dehydrated, there's more friction, less mobility, and that can lead to more functional issues and patterns of withholding that eventually lead to vulnerabilities and increased risk of injury and pain. So I thought that was kind of good. It helped me kind of get a good cue in there to make sense of it for everyone. So fascia is vital for the reduction of pain in the body just in general. But what I like about that is that our posture and our foundation really needs to be integral when doing this work. Just as any fitness program you do, there's so many good ones out there, and I want to acknowledge that. One thing that I like to talk about is how I cue. Yes, I talk sometimes, maybe sometimes too much, but it's better to have the information about what's happening in your body. Otherwise, it's movement without your groundedness, your foundation, and then you can risk injury and pain, and that's what we don't want, right? We don't want that. We want to be able to move and be free in our body to do the things that we love to do. All right, so setting a foundation is really, really integral. There's a few steps that I take when I'm working with a new client or if I'm teaching a class. It's always to set the posture first, core second, and move third. So in doing that, what does that mean? Posture, if you just try to put yourself, right, okay, I'm in my posture, right? Typically it doesn't stay there, right? Through the day we kind of let ourselves relax, we come out of that posture, and then that ends up being a pattern within the body, and then our fascia basically is our shape, and so that we become shaped in these postures that we hold for long periods of time. So we want to keep the body, the fascia moving and grooving, and to do that, the fascia activations I teach are incredibly helpful to keep the hydration of the fascia matrix plump and healthy, and to decrease adhesions that are potentially causing problems in how joints function and mobility and the such. When I begin any course, whether it is my 5-day fascia fix or even my Patreon account, I have a video just on foundations because it's so important. So I'm kicking off an entire campaign basically for the year called toes to nose, right? The whole body, but really the nose, let's go all the way up to the top of the head. Let's be real, whole body. Just sounds cool, right, for marketing. And so each week we are going to focus on a new body part, and we're going to reach the whole body. So nose to toes to nose, and the like. Next week we're talking about the jaw and TMJ, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun. But we're kicking it off with foundations. So let's talk for a moment about how you stand, posture, right? The ideal posture, maybe there isn't such a thing, but would be that you're holding yourself in a position where you're not challenged by chronic discomfort in one place. So whether it's your traps or your lower back or your hips, right? If we can find a postural position to begin with, what we'll end up doing is working where we really need it more specifically. So imagine you're hanging from a string and bringing the ears in an attempt to be in line with the shoulders. I call it chin tuck in general, but it is a little more specific than just moving your head back, right? You want to slightly draw the chin towards the back of the throat and also lift the skull up just a little bit, like you're creating a J with your head. Shoulder blades, they can be in a lot of places, right, with the shoulders. Think of us, I have a new term called retraction. I was working with a client last night and I accidentally said it. I'm like, wait, but that makes sense. Externally rotate and retract at the same time. So you're retracting, I'm gonna have to hashtag that, are in their home. So the connection of the head and the shoulders is secure. Rib cage, we lift, we pop. So often we crunch in the lower back. The rib cage should be settled over or stacked above your pelvis. So imagine your sternum and your xiphoid process is at the bottom of your sternum. And then grab your pubic bone position here and stack them. Your fingers should be stacked, not separated, stacked. Okay? So there we have the head, we have the shoulders and their retraction, our rib cage stacked above your pelvis, and then your pelvis like a bucket of water. We don't want to anteriorly tilt and tip the water out. We don't want to posteriorly tilt and dump the water back. We want to be somewhere, as best we can, in the middle, or neutral. All right, hips in line with the knees, in line with the ankles. So you don't want to be too far forward or too far back, or knees bent, straight but not locked out. Okay, posture, moving on. This is where I think it gets interesting. You know, our nervous system plays such an incredible role in everything we do in our movement, and I want to integrate it from the very beginning as part of your foundation. So you're setting your posture as best you can. Now here's the trick. You want to work the nervous system all the way down to the toes. So to do that, I want you first to think about 50% body weight in both of your legs. Who does that, right? Like, okay, stand, we're in an exercise class, touch your toes. Well, if I'm fascially inclined to be more on my right leg, I might not be even putting any body weight into my left leg. So that forward roll is only feeding into an already set posture or pattern that we don't want. So we want to work from the body position that we want to be in. So imagine that 50% in both legs. Okay, take a moment and think about it, and I'll stop talking. Do you have to shift or modify or adjust to get 50%? Feeling your quads, hamstrings, and glutes, calves working evenly as best you can on both sides. All right, I'm done talking. Close your eyes and play with your 50-50 body weight distribution. Notice now if you had to make adjustments or shifting your body weight, where you had to do it. Were you standing heavily on your left leg and realized that you didn't have the muscles in your right leg working as much and you had to shift to the right, or vice versa? Were you too far back and your quads were working too much, or too far forward, hamstrings, glutes working too much? Whatever it was, notice the adjustment that you had to make, and I want you to make that as often as you can when you're walking, when you're standing in line waiting for something. For me, I like to share this, I stand more on this leg, and I have to shift my body weight almost every time I'm gonna do yoga, go for a walk, into my other leg. When I'm cooking, literally all the time, whenever I catch myself, I do the shift. I find that body weight shifted. And I have to do that. And if I don't do that, this leg just doesn't show up or integrate as much as I need it to for whatever it is that I'm doing. So if we have 50% body weight in both legs. Next, let's work all the way down to the feet. I'm gonna adjust my video here. Y'all, sorry about that. Can't quite see as much as I'd like to see. All right, that's better. Just don't fall over. Okay, 50-50. Now imagine your footprint in the sand. So you have three main points that you're thinking of. The pad of the ball of the foot of your big toe, the pinky, and the heel. 1, 2, 3, both sides. Now imagine those in your feet and lasers of light going straight down through the floor. You don't want the lasers to be jutting out in different diagonals in different directions. Typically, if you are pronated or supinated within your feet, you'll have more pressure on the outside or inside of your foot. So you can even take a look at your feet. Your arch is dropped. If they're dropped, you might need to put a little bit more body weight on the pinky edge of your foot. And then opposite, if you stand more on the outside of your foot, maybe you need to connect the big toe pad of the foot or the ball of the foot into the ground. So imagine that you have that, make your adjustments, and then picture a footprint. in the sand just below your feet. All right, when you do that, the nervous system then has to reach all those areas and those adjustments that you did. Again, for me, I don't quite turn on or put body weight right here in this part of my foot. So that means I'm always shifted back, kind of like this, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And so when I say, no, I'm going to drive that connection down, I want it to feel the same amount, all of a sudden what I feel is my left leg. Sorry, Instagram flips me, but this is my left leg, for real. When I make that connection, my lateral side of my leg, my lateral hamstrings, my calf, all of a sudden show up. So the 50-50 is good, but it doesn't get you all the way there. That's why we feel the footprint through the floor. Do you feel the toes into the floor? So much of what I teach is about the connections that we make before we move, okay? So we have our posture. We have our 50-50 body weight distribution in our legs, and then we have our footprint in the sand. Maintain that position and take a deep breath in. And exhale. 2 more breaths, visualizing your posture, your shape, your form, and imagining the nervous system all the way through to the feet. Inhale again. And exhale. Notice if you need to keep adjusting, finding your new foundation. One more time, inhale. And exhale. Good. All right, so there's a really good example of how I would start to teach the foundation for movement. I'm teaching a 45-minute class this afternoon at 2 o'clock for my Patreon, and it's going deeper into this. In this next class, what I'm going to be diving into is the transverse abdominis. So if you follow me, you probably hear me chat about that a bit. But the transverse is a deep abdominal core muscle that starts in your lower back, your thoracolumbar fascia, and it wraps around like a corset. And it's kind of like an internal back brace. It's kind of like a corset, but I call it the magic muscle. So I'm teaching that today at 2. If you're interested in that, let me know. I do have a Zoom link that I can share too, so you can kind of get an idea of when I'm teaching these classes, how to best get them. So that's today, and then it will be posted later to the rest of the patrons on my account. Yes, so practice your foundations today. Practice finding your posture. Practice finding your 50-50. Practice finding your footprint. And then go about your day, okay? And see if you can feel more integrated throughout your body. So thank you so much for joining me. I know we didn't do a lot of fascia activations today, but really this information will last you a lifetime. And the more you find that connection to the body, that foundation, the more grounded you'll be in all the work you do. Fascia, yoga, strength training, HIIT, you name it, all of them will benefit from that too. So if you have more questions, please reach out and ask me. I'm here to help you along the way. Let's see if I missed anything. Oh, yes. Max in his blog post wrote, restriction equals increased friction. Restriction equals friction. And that's so true. When we're restricted in our fascia, there's more friction and we don't feel as good. All right, so I'm done. Thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. See you later. Oh boy. Tech.